We're here at Affiliate Summit West, Las Vegas in 2024 with this fantastic panel to talk about the future of affiliate and email marketing. And first thing I want to do is have everybody introduce themselves and their companies. So Sarah, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Sarah Miller. Oh, shoot. We can edit that out, right? Everybody calls me by my maiden name, so I was like, oh, wait, which one am I? I'm Sarah Miller. I'm the VP of Operations at Madrivo. I've been with the company over 10 years now, and happy to be here.
Sam Darwish, co-founder and CEO of Everflow. We are great partners of Aptismo and Madrivo, and happy to be here as well. Yeah.
Jake Dierstein, Chief Revenue Officer at Aptismo. 15 years with the company. Longtime partners with both Madrivo and Everflow teams, and yeah, really just glad to be able to put this thing together and have a good chat.
All right, and I'm Tom Wozniak, the COO of Aptismo. Been with the company for 7 years and been in the space for a couple years longer than that, I think. But always excited to talk to our great partners and friends in this industry because we have so many of them. So wanted to kick this off again. It's gonna be nice and informal, but let's talk a little bit about our companies. We obviously work together. It's the partnership, I think, that makes this industry different than a lot of others, is so many companies really work closely together and build relationships. So talk a little, Sarah, about kind of how we all work together.
Yeah, so we are a performance marketing network. We have advertisers and affiliates. We use Aptismo for all of our unsubscribed needs to keep us compliant. And then our loving partners, Everflow, they're our tracking platform, and we couldn't do it without them.
So yeah, Everflow click tracking platform. We started the company 2017, there are obviously a lot of other click tracking platforms, but one of our objectives was to work closely with partners. Have it be an open platform. We know that we can't do everything, but just really be good at what we do. So, for example, email compliance, and it's not something we would ever do. So we partner with the best. Like Aptismo, and other areas as well. So that's kind of our philosophy.
Yeah, Aptismo, we're these two have put, we're in email compliance and suppression management, and been at it for 15 years. We serve a lot of the space, a lot of the big email players such as Madrivo, working closely with the click tracking platforms such as Everflow. We really have kind of an interesting model where we want to serve the needs of the space and kind of work with everybody. But I think it's really a sort of an ecosystem type of service that we provide where if you're working with a bunch of other partners who have our software in place too, it's just going to kind of make things easier for everybody, a little more transparent down the lines.
Sure. Yeah. Well, our companies and all of us have kind of been in the space for a minute. So, I think as leaders in our individual companies, how do you approach growth in 2024 and beyond, or even just how we've all kind of gotten to this place? Maybe Sam, you want to kind of start with that?
Yeah, I've been in the space since 2004, so very early on. I've seen the acai berries, the whatever is the hot thing right now, Wintos,
The green tea.
Yeah, check out the flashlights.
And I've always believed in performance marketing. I feel like that's the right way to do marketing. And what's interesting is that, again, when we started Everflow, we didn't think it would just be for affiliates. So right now in our platform, like people are doing influencers, they're doing email marketing, they're doing partnerships. Really, it's expanded, tracking their media buying. So I feel like the industry has matured. And it has become a channel even for a lot of top brands, and it's been interesting for me to see that, just because it was, for a long time, it was viewed as kind of like the shady part of advertising, and I think we've actually come out of that over the last few years, and we have tons of clients that just have partner marketing, as it's called now, as the channel for them, and they have people focused on that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting. I mean, we're also a vendor, of course, as well. And you all see such a broader spectrum of kind of the industry as a whole. So I think it's really interesting, kind of the point that you made about coming out of that sort of view that affiliate carried for a long time, performance just in general, of it being kind of, there's some negative connotation to it in ways, and lack of transparency and, those types of things. What's happening with my brand out there in the wild once I outsource this messaging to these partners. And I'd love the direction that it seems the industry is going on the whole, which is embracing transparency and just kind of having the publishers and these partners kind of you guys have to come out of the shadows a little bit, right? And otherwise, we're not going to be able to bring these new advertisers in and keep expanding the space and keep growing.
Just to add to that, like for example, something we've seen over the last year or two is like B2B SaaS companies starting to use this, which, we don't even think about that like a few years ago, it was all just kind of direct consumer, direct response stuff. So, a lot of companies are starting to adopt these methodologies.
Do you guys embrace any performance yourselves?
We do. We use Everflow internally.
Okay.
So we track our media buys, we track our partners, referrals pretty much.
All right.
And yeah, we pay out. It's kind of a lead model as well, and then we on the conversion as well downstream. So yeah, we eat our own dog food for sure.
Nice.
I make our marketing team use Everflow.
Yeah, why not?
You will use Everflow.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, what our approach to growth, I think, is really centered around the customer experience. So something that's always been important to us is not only compliance, right? That's a big part of it. And obviously, sophisticated technology, things that are going to help us track. We want to be really open with the different types of models and monetization models that our clients are using. But really what it's all wrapped up in for us is the customer experience. Are we making our clients happy? And are we protecting consumers? And what's their experience of the ad or of the website? And how does that whole thing flow? And so what's helped us grow is really prioritize that over everything, because we want to be creating value. We want to come, we don't ever want to be in the shadows, right? We've always wanted to be something. What the founders have said about Madrivo is, if you're embarrassed to show it to your grandmother, we don't run it, right? And that's always been sort of our guiding, light is making sure that we are high quality, making sure that we're compliant, and making sure that the people that we interact with, that even the brands we work with, the affiliates that we work with, want the same things, because we want to be part of this movement. We want to grow this industry. We want it to be something that sticks around for a long time and becomes the most most effective way to advertise, really. And so that's kind of always been our guiding light. And then obviously too, we do things internally as well, and kind of, there's a lot that you can do to be creative and make yourself a player as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as far as the way growth is viewed within our company is, at least my position is that we are facilitators, both to networks, to publishers, to advertisers. Our message is certainly around the protection of data and how to make what a lot of people view from a legal perspective. Personally, I did PII, right? And that's kind of the term, I should say, that gets kind of attached to the sharing of opt-out lists and suppression data a lot, or just any kind of consumer data in general. And I think that our role in the ecosystem for you all to be able to get lists in from advertisers out to publishers, for them to be able to seamlessly plug in with Everflow and make that available to pubs and make it all nice and clean. We have to facilitate. We have to put educational materials out there, and we have to make sure that the space, email specifically, is sustainable and is consistently growing. We have to help you all get advertisers on. We have to make sure your publishers are happy and able to run effectively. And I think that's our role. And as long as we continue to fill that in an efficient way, and in a responsive way, with an eye towards future product and kind of the needs that evolve in the space, I think growth is going to take care of itself for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, Sam, you talk about how, the affiliate marketing industry obviously been around for a long time. And certainly, especially in those early days, had a bit of a connotation of like, well, I only pay for what I get is great, but I have some concerns. And so interesting that, we're going to call it partner industry now. But so thinking along those lines, what are some of your favorite things about working in the affiliate/partner industry?
I'm like an analytics numbers guy, and I love that part of the business. Basically, as you mentioned, tracking customers, really understanding, their effectiveness, downstream events, beyond just conversion. So that's what I love about the industry, is that it's ROI based, and that if you show your value and your performance and you're trusted, you have a good reputation, anyone can kind of make it in it, right? I think like traditional, let's say, advertising agency brand business, it's a little more wishy-washy, I think, than performance marketing per se. So I've always loved that part. Yeah.
I love two things. I think the first thing I love the most about the industry is that there's just so much room for creativity. I'm definitely a results-driven person. So if I'm given like the end goal and we can kind of come up with a way to solve that and get there ourselves, that's where we really thrive. That's where a lot of our momentum comes from. So there's just a lot of room. We have, different channels are starting to emerge, or different channels that have been around forever, like search, are becoming more and more popular now and more sophisticated. And so it's always a challenge to be like, okay, how do we keep up, and how do we give our pubs, and the tools that they need to be more effective in this channel? And the second thing I love about it, I think, is just, I know the industry has had such a bad reputation for years, but if you really look, behind the curtain, there's a lot of value that consumers are getting from the ads that we're serving them. There's a lot of value, and we're making a big difference by connecting these people with things that are actually increasing, like, their quality of life, right? Whether it's insurance or whether it's solar panels or whatever it is, we're putting the ads that they actually want to see in front of them with technology and with proprietary data and things like that. So there is a lot of value that we're contributing, I think, to the industry, and a lot of credibility. And so I just love seeing that growth and seeing all of that change. And it's fun to prove people wrong. So.
100%. Yeah, and not to completely just tack on, but in a similar vein, I think the first thing that popped into my head before anybody even answered was the sort of resilient and innovative nature of the people in this space, the entrepreneurs, the people that have built businesses, and that we've all been in this space now for decade plus, and some a little bit even more beyond that.
We're not pointing fingers.
But no, just I had a great conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who was just promoted to general manager of his company, where he started as a support guy 15 years ago, and I think just how kind of beautiful that story is, and we all know 100 other people in this space who have seen that journey come along, and just the intelligence, the drive. Oh shoot, this one issue popped up. We're going to collaborate, and everybody's going to work together and share information and figure out a way around it, and figure out how to continue to drive performance, drive results for our advertisers and for our brands and our customers. And yeah, I mean, just it's always evolving, it's always changing, it keeps you on your toes. And I really enjoy that aspect of it a whole lot.
Yeah. And I'll just tack on, and it's, again, why we're having this fun conversation, is just the people in the space. That, again, the innovative entrepreneurial spirit, and just folks that we've gotten to know for years, who, we knew them when they came into the industry as a support person, and now they're running a company. That's not an uncommon story. And having worked in some other industries, those relationships aren't always the same. I think we come to these shows, and we're really kind of excited to see everybody. It's not just, I have a bunch of client meetings. It's like, I have a bunch of friends that I want to see and have good conversations with.
Yeah. It is a great mix like that. Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, we have a close friend of ours who he's not even in this space anymore, but he was for years, and he came out to Vegas just to come and post up,
just to hang out,
have beers and hang out for a couple days. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I mean, I probably would
in one spot.
I probably would do that if
Right.
Just come.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it is unique. Well, one of the things that is certainly impacting this industry, and like every other, is AI. You can't escape it. So first question, when is AI going to replace the four of us at this table?
It already has. I'm actually a robot. Yeah. This is ChatGPT.
I really wholeheartly believe, and this is the way that we're approaching it, within our company, is that I don't think it's going to replace us, because we are, all of us here, and pretty much everybody in the space in one way or another, we're all kind of, I use this term broadly, salespeople. We're customer focused. We have to be on those front lines with our clients, with our users. You can't replace that. I'm a people person. You buy from people, and your relationships are forged with people. I think what AI is really going to do in our space is it's going to allow companies to offload a lot of those menial tasks, the stuff that your devs, that your QA guys get stuck in the weeds with for 2, 3, 4 days, and it's going to allow people to focus on innovation and revenue driving. I think that we're going to see probably less team growth, which is good and bad, but I do think it's going to again just allow companies to grow immensely without adding incredible amounts of overhead, as we've seen in the past. So I don't think it's going to be about automating people out of jobs. It may limit some of the new opportunities that will come up, but I think it's just going to get a lot of this just grunt work type stuff that we've all had to deal with in the past off our plates.
I agree with that. I mean, I think so. We're starting to experiment a little bit with AI. For example, like on the support side, we have a support team which you may have interacted with, but and they're great.
Monopolized, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, and they're great. We have chat support, but I mean, one of the things with AI, I think with let's call it like a vertical, domain knowledge, you can upload, a lot of your, knowledge and help desk, or even all the chats, and into that, and then. So we're experimenting with support, having that AI being the first kind of, like the basic questions, like what's a post back? We get a lot of very basic, and then, if the AI can't handle it, it moves up to a support person. So to your point about reducing number of people and helping, like, we see that taking over that. And then the other thing, what we're kind of starting to look at is kind of integrating within our software, is because we have a lot of reporting analytics, is AI kind of making suggestions to affiliate managers like, hey, maybe look at this pub, or, there's something going on here. It's very early on, but that's where we see it kind of, and I do think it's going to be gradual. I don't, there's a lot of hype about it in the industry, but it's going to take some time as kind of we learn about this, and kind of grow it. But I do think it is going to help companies not replace folks, but maybe not hire as many, right? So I agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree. So I actually had a conversation with one of the girls on my operations team, because I had her start using AI to develop creatives, email creatives. And she was like, does this mean, like, what am I going to do, like, after I do this? And I was like, don't look at it as replacing you. Look at it as a way to do your job a heck of a lot better,
more efficiently,
right?
sure.
You're gonna be more efficient. You're gonna produce more, and you're gonna do it better, right? So that's kind of how we've envisioned AI and implement it into, like, basically the operations across the board. So we currently have it as part of our, our reach outs. We have AI tools that are helping us with our pitch and with our email cadence and all of that. We have it in the middle part of our sales funnel. So when we're onboarding clients, there's some AI in there. We're using it for creative approvals internally. We even have our internal email teams are using it. They've collected data points, and basically like 100 data points and about 15 billion instances to know which emails to send to which consumers. And so we've really dived deep into the AI pool. We've really adopted it quickly, and we're seeing great results. But to Sam's point, there's still so much to learn, and there's so much to use it with. And I agree completely. It's not to replace people. It's to do what we're doing, but do it a lot better and step up, I guess.
Yeah. The way I think of it sometimes is like, before the airplane, like, you would go to like New York once every 10 years. But now you can go like, 10 times a year, right?
Yeah.
So it just opens up things that you didn't think were possible before, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
We're doing some similar things, and kind of trying to create some bots that are both helping with content creation, as well as, our dev team is using it as QA check. So running the code through, before we do any pushes, and it's able to do these things in minutes that we were literally taking days. And we may still have one of our senior guys comb through it, afterwards, just real quick post check, but just the efficiency. And our CTO had to have a very heart-to-heart with our entire dev team of like, look guys, I'm asking you to do these things, and it's not to replace, it's to help you be more productive and push things out faster and keep moving forward. And the more we can all deliver whatever our respective game is, the more we can get out and get to our clients, the more money everybody's going to be able to make.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I would agree too. You also have to tread lightly, because even like if you really want to test AI, like ask it some math questions, because it was not built for that.
No.
So
Yeah.
so definitely QC it, like you said.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because all of our companies are really using it, and I think a year ago maybe we were kind of starting to mess with it a little bit and trying different things. But interesting that we've all gone down pretty far down a rabbit hole. Do you think that's common in the affiliate marketing space? Do you think a lot of companies are using it to the extent that maybe the three of us are, or is it still a little early in its adoption for some of the others?
I think people are using it. I think it's to Sarah's point earlier, I do think we have an innovative entrepreneurial. A lot of people I've spoken to are using it, like creative, and various software development, et cetera. So I think it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if people aren't using it, like they're not building their own bots, like some of us might be. I think at the very least, the vendors that you're using, your CRM, your chat support or whatever it is, they're using it. So it's very easy to integrate it these days into your daily processes.
Yeah, and it's amazing just how much it really is in its infancy.
Yeah.
I think if 2 years ago, if somebody said AI to us, we all immediately go to, Skynet and Terminator, right, in our minds. And then, as soon as ChatGPT was there, and you could just have a conversation with it. And again, got to filter what you see, but then just kind of seeing where we're at today and hearing these stories and the way it's being deployed, it's really amazing. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes in the next year. And just, it should be exponential, right? How fast it comes out.
For sure. Well, and kind of along the lines with AI, technology, is constantly evolving. We're all used to that, and we face challenges as marketers, as companies in the digital marketing space to, adapt to a lot of those changes. So kind of on a broader scale, we've got cookies that, third-party cookies, they've been going away for it feels like a decade that, this is the year. We're going to deprecate them, all gone. Yeah. But even though it's taken longer than initially anticipated, it's really is right around the corner. So this obviously impacts you guys quite a bit. So, but again, all of us. So I'd love to hear kind of what, Everflow and what your kind of approach is to dealing with that. And
yeah,
how
absolutely.
we do
We've always, our product has been set up to, not use cookies. And that's our preferred method is, you do the first party JavaScript on the page, and it's more accurate than cookies anyway. Like Google said, it's 1%. They've deprecated on Chrome, and the idea is to take it up to 100. And it's not clear like if it's going to be linear or they're just going to do it at the end of the year, but they're going to do it. And a good chunk of our customers are not using cookies, and we are actively reaching out to folks, to switch. There's some inertia there, but it's going to happen. And I think it's better. At the end of the day, I don't think this was the best solution. Cookies, right? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would agree. We actually, I think from the get-go, we used to use a different tracking platform. We moved to Everflow in the last couple of years, and we've always tried to avoid cookies. Probably at least in the last 8 years or so, I would say, when they started to talk about it going away. It's just more reliable to avoid them. It's your tracking is better. We've seen better results in our reconciliation and even in our brands that we work with, their backends. And so I think, it's okay for us if we're going to move away from that. That's fine. We're ready for it. And really, it's just convincing, like Sam said, our clients to do the same. Some of them still insist upon it. So
and we're making kind of a marketing push with clients and even just the industry, just saying, hey, like it's time to switch. I don't know what the other tracking platforms are doing, but that's kind of our approach. It's like let's just get on board.
Yeah, it doesn't touch a whole lot of what we do.
Right. So we don't have as much to say about that, but still.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that we've heard. I've heard about, and it's been peripheral, certainly in the space, and see it impact all of our partners and our friends in the space in different ways. But yeah, it doesn't touch a whole lot of what we do. Yeah.
But it does, it kind of ties into, well, again, other things that are coming for us in the email space. Of course, we're always being, impacted by lots of changes, not so much maybe quite that broad, but when we really have two big players that essentially control the space, being Gmail and Yahoo to a great extent, and they decide we're going to change the rules and we're going to change the guidelines. So one of those upcoming guidelines was coming literally in a few weeks, and now it's been largely pushed off. But with some of those upcoming guidelines, what things are you guys doing to adapt to that, and what are you seeing the industry preparing for?
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny, like I spoke about earlier with the customer experience. We actually moved to one-click unsubscribe not too long ago. Our internal email teams did, at least, because not only is it a better experience for the consumer, but also on Yahoo specifically, if you report the email as spam, it will actually give you the option, do you want to unsubscribe instead, which helps, right, from an email perspective. So we've already kind of moved that way, and because so much of what we do is about okay, what's coming next? What do we need to be prepared for? We've already made those changes. We're already on our way. I do think that some publishers might be slower to adopt, which is what we expect, what we're used to. So our approach to it is really just going to be educate them, support them, make it easy on them. That's, I think, been the biggest recipe for success for us is okay, how straightforward can I make this for you, and how easy and seamless to motivate you to get that right, essentially. So yeah, we're moving that way, and we anticipate people will follow. So at least we have some time to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because there's such different types of email that go out, right? You've got first-party stuff where people are using your sort of out-of-the-box solutions, your MailChimps and so on. And a lot of those platforms are going to take care of it for them. There's really not going to be a whole lot that they need to do. Whereas, some of our third-party guys who are building out their own platforms and managing their own SMTPs and their own servers, they're going to have a little bit more to do. But I think to your point, that if they don't adapt, they're going to be out of a job because they're not going to be able to deliver.
Right.
Google and Yahoo are going to be watching all of this. I think they've pretty much made relatively clear at this point that they'll start incrementally, kind of filtering out more and more that aren't compliant. I admittedly don't know a whole lot, and maybe you do, Sarah, about kind of the DKIM and DMARC, or maybe Tom, even you do those sorts of requirements. And I guess it has to do with just kind of making your domains transparent, and your IPs and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think that, from the unsubscribed perspective, which is where we fit in, we absolutely support it from a technology angle. You can easily take opt-out links that we provide and enter them into as that endpoint for the list unsubscribe header to hit and say, unsubscribe here. And I think it's just going to be one of those things that, similarly to all of the different hurdles that have popped up in email over the last 5, 6, 7 years, where everybody likes to scream kind of doomsday for a little bit. And I just think, again, coming back to the innovative and entrepreneurial spirit of the space, we're going to persevere. People are going to keep getting forward. It might be one of those natural sort of survival of the fittest sort of kind of occurrences where, again, the people who don't want to play ball or want to stay behind the curtain and not be visible and transparent, play by the rules, they're just going to find themselves out of a gig.
And is it like 3 strikes kind of? Is that what they're saying, or like?
It isn't so much that, but essentially, Gmail and Yahoo again kind of tag team on this and said, okay, we're going to set some guidelines for bulk email senders of commercial email that you send over 5,000 a day on average. Or something to that extent. Again, there's a little bit of vagueness, but that you have to meet these certain requirements. And again, it's certain authentications, DMARC, DKIM, those things. And then you've got to use the list unsubscribe header, and then you have to keep your spam rate below a certain percentage. I can't
0.2 or
some
0.3.
Yeah, I can't remember either. And that I felt like was a moving number initially. And then honor the opt-out within 2 days instead of the 10-day can spam requirement.
Which is so odd because they're kind of invoking their own law going against a federal law.
So this is just their private business law, basically.
That's what they said.
And essentially what they've said was, if you don't follow these rules, you may not get delivered into the inbox. Of course, it's not really saying if you follow them, you will get delivered, but you just,
I'll sign up for guaranteed inboxing.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think every emailer would, right? Oh, I follow these and I guarantee I'm in, sweet, done.
Right.
But the industry has gone through these challenges time after time. Go from the Wild West days to canned spam coming into place in 2003, and that was going to be the end of commercial email, and obviously not even close. It just set the guidelines so it could keep growing. So I think it's certainly going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. But Sarah, what's your long-term outlook on a channel like email in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing I've been in the industry a little over 10 years, but I think for forever it's been, email's dying, right? Email's going to go. And as you guys know, we're known for email. We have our internal teams. It's kind of our bread and butter. Obviously, we've diversified to other channels, and we're seeing a lot of success and growth there. But email is kind of like, our life source, in a way, if you will. And we don't expect it to go anywhere. Just along with what we've been saying, we kind of believe that we just have to keep adapting, right? These things, yes, they're changes, but it's really just logistical. It's not a big change to our business model. The compliance standards that we have in place, the processes that we have in place, we're really just adapting a little bit, but we're not worried about these rules. And in fact, we're happy to jump on board if it means that we're going to stick around and we're going to be a sustainable brand. So yeah, this one and the one-to-one that's coming, we want to be prepared. We want to educate our clients. We want them to be prepared and, not to take anybody by surprise. But we don't see it as a reason that we're not going to grow or succeed in 2024 and on from there. So.
Sam, I know you guys obviously stretch well beyond email, but any thoughts? I mean, we all have, email is part of all of our lives. You can't really help it.
I've always been bullish on email because I think as things are getting way fragmented out there, a lot more, we've got TikTok, you've got influencers, it's becoming like very fragmented out there. So email is very consistent. Like, and I think I read a stat that like people now check their email like 20 times a day, and everybody has a unique email. It's in a very effective channel, right?
Yes.
But especially if it's done right. One of the things I think our engineering team is kind of looking at is enhancing kind of our like traffic security, where like tracking domains, like monitoring domains more to see if they're blacklisted, notifying folks as well. So kind of to help with that staying compliance. I know we're early on, but we're looking at that kind of as well. And then within our platform, we have a whole direct messaging aspect of it where you can message your affiliates. So we just want to ensure that part is also compliant, and subs are there and everything like that. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to change the industry, especially with folks that are kind of already compliant. And I do think it's going to continue to be an effective channel. And I mean, it's challenging out there to find things as effective as email.
Right.
It's
the highest ROI still, second to word of mouth. So it continues to be that. So even with search, search is becoming more popular, I think, but the ROAS is higher. So just when it comes to ROI and where you want to invest your money, email continues to be the leader.
Yeah.
One thing too about email is it's not one-dimensional, right? So it's definitely part of a multi-channel strategy. So while maybe your one email might not end up in a lead, they're going to see that email, and then they're going to see you on Facebook, and they're going to see you on Google. And what we're finding is a lot of brands are leaning towards CPM now because it's getting their name out there, and it's getting that brand visibility and that credibility out there. And then maybe they convert on a different property or a different ad or something like that. But email is still very much part of the mix.
You mentioned the one-to-one, and I would love to hear both y'all's input on this because your platform facilitates SMS. You guys, I'm sure, have publishers campaigns that you run in SMS. Being that it is an FCC regulation, how are you all kind of anticipating how publishers are going to look at trying to generate SMS traffic versus perhaps a different channel such as going towards email and that type of thing? Because from a legal perspective, I see where it goes from ping and post to a term that I kind of saw from another vendor now that kind of tentatively calling it a ping pick post. So before that lead actually hits that buyer, the consumer now has to choose, right? So that user experience, I mean, people I think just on the whole are so used to, I'm looking for car insurance, I end up at the EverQuote site or whoever, and they just submit their information and all of a sudden they're getting peppered. And I think that's, consumers are kind of used to it, but how do you all anticipate and kind of view that extra step in the workflow potentially shifting budgets and potentially shifting where publishers want to focus? Do you guys see that kind of impacting things, at least in the near term? Or?
Yeah, we anticipate that publishers they're going to have to pivot, right? They're either going to have to abandon what they're currently doing, or they're going to really have to change it and come up with a different monetization model that is compliant in that way. So we're very selective in what we do in SMS, and we are already doing basically the one-to-one in the way that we carry it out. But I do see it some of these SMS players are probably going to move into other channels. I think we're going to see it impact pay-per-call. I think we're going to see it impact our lead aggregators. We have some, of our own internal properties that are going to be impacted by it. And so again, it's just to go back to every change that comes, you just have to pivot. You have to educate yourselves. You have to educate your clients. And I say, change quickly. May as well get ahead of it because the next thing is coming, right? So the next change is coming. So you don't want to be caught, trying to make all these changes when you could be really, jumping on the next kind of trend that's here. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of big kind of co-reg guys or registration guys, and a lot of them are I do see there's a difference. Some of them are more compliant than others, and they do have a year, I guess, too. But a lot of them have basically said they're kind of getting ready for it, or they're already have experimented with creatives and they kind of figure it out. So I think with the kind of bigger, more established guys, it doesn't seem to be as bad. I also heard that there's a consortium to fight this.
Always. Yes.
which is interesting. I don't know if you guys know more about that.
No, I really hadn't heard that, but it doesn't surprise me in the least bit. Yeah. There's always going to be the people that want to put up a fuss over it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's I think the pushed it to 2025 or beginning
Yes.
of 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
because
did.
they reopened it for comments again because they
Right.
didn't really get any initially, and so yeah, it seems like it's definitely been pushed back, and maybe it'll change in some ways in a material way before it gets truly enacted. But we just don't know at this point. But I think just again getting back to it's like the industry will figure it out. Not surprised that the big players maybe even already saw it coming. And it's like hey. The heyday of this, like we talk about this industry, with acai berry versus ringtones versus, used to be back in the day it was every 6 months, that the whole industry flipped.
Right.
And whatever that offer was that everybody was running, no, it doesn't even work anymore. Now you're on to something else. And maybe we're not in quite that fast of a cycle in terms of the bigger, regulatory changes, but they still come in these big waves and the industry figures it out and moves on and finds new ways to, to make money and keep going. So, along those lines, the other regulatory thing that we all face is data privacy. That one is certainly not going away. Every month it seems like another state is either talking about or passing a new data privacy law that inevitably is going to be in conflict with a different law. So, everybody's well aware of, the California Consumer Privacy Act and Part 2, the CPRA. But, Massachusetts, Colorado, just run down the list. Eventually, like every state's going to have its own. What are your thoughts on, when, and none of us here know, obviously, the answer to this, so, but we can come back to it in years, and if anybody's right, that'll be great. Anybody anticipate when we might actually see a national privacy law kind of following in the steps of CAN spam, but going on data privacy?
No idea.
Yeah, so I mean, we're kind of an interesting because we don't actually collect data. I mean, we collect. I think they call it like a data. Was it a processor versus a data? Yeah. So I guess we're more of a data processor, but we do also we do collect information like IPs and stuff like that, but we mask those. Like it's not easily, and so. We've kind of adopted GDPR as the standard, and we assume it's this. We just apply it across the board. We have a bunch of European clients as well, so yeah. I mean, not much of an impact, I think, on the click processing side, and we just we don't get that many kind of like data privacy concerns. Like people asking once in a while, people want to unsubscribe. But it's like we unsubscribe them, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
That's it.
yeah, but I definitely more of an issue for data collectors, right? So
Yeah, I'd say on our traditional side, so we have our traditional network. Obviously, same thing. We're not collecting data, right? We're redirecting traffic for our O&O properties and the things that we do have internally. Honestly, I wouldn't be against a federal law because right now. Just to be compliant with the California regulations, there's already extra steps you have to do. So I'd really rather see something that's uniform across the board than now New York has a law and Iowa has a law, and now we're doing all these different things on our website that are making the consumer experience convoluted. I think a federal law would be fine.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Being compliance oriented provider ourselves, I think when everybody's on the same page, it's super helpful. Unfortunately, not to delve into this world at all is the only sentence I'm going to say, but politically, I don't know that it's going to hit at the top of any agenda, certainly not this year in a campaign year. And then, does it rise right to the top of whomever is, the administration in next January? It's hard to say, really tough to say. I don't think we would see anything be pushed through probably in the next 2 to 3 minimum.
does it really affect your business though, or?
It doesn't.
No, again, kind of the same. We're in the exact same position where we're a service provider. So
maybe just the customers though may affect them. Yeah.
But being that we do host suppression or opt-out pages, that the end consumer deals with, our opt-out pages are pretty standardized, and a lot of our clients do choose to just use them as they are out of the box. So there's pretty consistent copy on those, where if the consumer takes that copy and plugs it into Google, they're going to land pretty much at our homepage. It's going to be right up at the top. So they can find us, and we do field those requests. But generally, what we'll do is we'll approach the advertiser if that consumer is able to kind of point us in the direction of where they got our info. We'll approach the advertiser. We'll let them know, hey, this person reached out to us. They sent us the message that they received. It's yours. We're going to go ahead and place them into your global blacklist. So now it'll be appended to everything, in your entire account. And we'll do some of that stuff proactively, but it's really tough if we don't know where they're coming from.
Right.
If they just call us up and start screaming and yelling, it's like we have hundreds of clients and literally thousands of people sending, but you can't really explain that to the general public
They don't
either.
wanna hear that.
No. They're just take me off your list, and like, you don't want us to take you off our
You
list.
actually want to be on more lists with us. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Right. It's weird.
But yeah, it's really an interesting sort of way, and I think like the regulatory environment on the whole is going to certainly present some challenges until there's some uniformity. Yeah.
Well, with that, we're getting toward winding this down, but I feel we'll wrap it up with maybe just a couple of quick questions. What if you had to pick maybe one or two storylines for the affiliate marketing industry in 2024? What would they be if we were having this conversation, same time next year?
Sure. I don't know. I guess it's partner marketing now or
Right,
performance
I know,
marketing.
see, I've already
I would
changed the
say it just becomes, an emerging leader in advertising. I think people are going to migrate away from traditional forums more and more, and really start to rely on our industry more for their needs, their acquisition needs, and their, brand reputation and all of those things. So I just see a lot of growth coming, a lot of credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're excited about. I mean, like we have customers that come in that are actually just want influencers, and it's just called partner marketing right now, and it's a big part of like that brand's push, right? Like, and that they feel like they're going to get their best, like let's say a health and beauty brand, they're going to get their best customers through influencer marketing, and it's all part of that. I mean, it started as affiliate marketing, but it's becoming this thing, and yeah, it's a more effective way of acquiring the right customer. And I think as the world is getting more complicated, right? There's all these different channels, there's all these different things, and it's it's not like you just put up an ad on TV. That's no longer the world we live in, right? So, our partner marketing, affiliate marketing is becoming actually more relevant, right? Because you're tracking all these things and showing ROI, acquiring the right customer.
No, I agree 100% with both of you. I think that kind of something that we just kind of touched on at the top of the conversation was people buy from people, and I think that goes for businesses, and I think it goes for consumers, and I think if they're going to be able to look at an ad from one of their favorite artists or chefs or whoever and see a product that they're interested in, and they get that endorsement, I think that carries all the weight in the world. The influencer side is going to be huge. I think technology certainly, and AI, which we talked about, of course, and seeing how that impacts efficiencies and creation. It's so new still to the space, but if you take that, I forget what is it, Moore's Law or something of kind of the way technology advances exponentially each year, we're in for a heck of a ride over the next couple, and the way that impacts us, all of us throughout the space. So those would be my two.
Yeah, and I think too, in the news recently, in the last couple of days, they just announced, a lot of the big tech companies are doing a lot of layoffs. So I just anticipate it also being like, survival of the fittest this year. Can you adapt? Can you adjust? Can you stay afloat?
Do you all, and kind of just on the whole as companies, because we've certainly kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of circled the wagons, right? And we're kind of just looking at expenditures, looking at different things, and just because of the environment, right? The economic little bit of uncertainty, the way price, so the inflation, all the common themes that we've all heard, and kind of just some uncertainty going into an election year and things like that. How are you all kind of viewing, things like what we're doing right now? Kind of the getting the teams out, for these full-on events and things like that. Are you guys looking at scaling some of that stuff a little bit back? Or because I know we're looking at everything now a little bit more closely than we kind of had in the past. Is that anything that you guys are entertaining and
Yeah.
looking
So
at?
shows continue to be, just a great venue for us to meet clients, to grow. So we'll definitely still be around. We'll still be going to all the shows. I do think that there's a little bit of a shift in the kind of shows that we're wanting to go to, right? Something that's like this, where we're really meeting with our partners. We're talking about what's coming, what's next, how can we work better together. We're focusing a lot of our efforts in that. There's other shows that are happening that are, there's women in the industry. There's a show going on there, masterminds and affiliate meetups and things of that nature. So we are kind of, maybe diversifying the types of shows that we're going to, but definitely still going. And, it's just a good investment for us and for our team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we do like a budgeting exercise every year, and projections. So, but I would say compared to, let's say, just kind of general SaaS companies, like I think our industry is in a little bit better position because, just kind of the last few years where companies that were overly funded and kind of entered certain markets, and they're running into like a lot of problems, right?
Yeah.
Or they're doing down rounds and things like that. But our industry tends to be, I think, pretty resilient. Having lived through the financial crisis and COVID and everything, we have clear ROIs. If a customer is working, or an advertiser, they unlikely they're gonna cut that back.
Yep.
So I mean, I think you have to manage things. You got to be smart about how you run your business, but I don't think this industry is going anywhere. I think it's fine compared to other verticals, other areas.
Something we really prioritize though is top grading, right? So making sure we have the right people on the bus, and I think that's been a better kind of way to think about budget and everything. Like, okay, who are the strategic hires, and are the people on the team really truly A players, right? Are we keeping them? And so that's been definitely a focus of ours, is just really investing in our team and growing that way.
Yeah, that's a great way that you just put it, and that really, I think, encapsulates kind of the way we're viewing it too. Is being a little more strategic, diversifying. We're looking at vertical specific type shows. Maybe not just the overall attending an affiliate Grand Slam event or something along those lines in Dubai. It's like, let's maybe find some focus things specifically in insurance and really get targeted messages, send the right people, and try to bring it out that way. It's great. Cool.
All right. I think that's a wrap.
This is awesome.
Everybody, fantastic.
Leave us hanging, Sam.